It's me, your sleep paralysis demon.
Nighty night.
Hey,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. My name is Luke. So, even out of drag, do you go by Creme Fatale all the time?
I feel like all of my friends call me by Creme. Yeah. I would say the only people that don't are like my boyfriend and like my family.
Just to be clear, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And so, how did you first get into the art of drag?
I actually have professional theater training. I went to theater school for acting after college for about 2 years. I graduated, but I hated theater acting because I'm like a control freak and I need to like have control of everything and like be able to choose what I'm doing and like what I look like and what I sound like. And I was like, there's nothing that's gonna allow me to do that. Um, and I was just like working in a coffee shop, super bored after theater school and after college. Like, okay, what am I gonna do? Um, and started watching like Drag Race with my sister, and I obviously like always knew about drag because I like grew up in the 90s and like RuPaul was like everywhere, and like watching John Waters movies and stuff. But like I was like, this like really breaks down like everything that I want to do. And they have like control over like, you know, creating their own character, their own person, and like the kind of art that they put out there. So I was like, I think this is what I was looking for.
Okay, cool. And
Just
were you
started.
in San Francisco then?
I live in Los Angeles. I moved about a year ago.
But when you first started getting into drag, were you in San Fran?
I was there for like 3 or 4 years.
And I bet
Yeah.
that's really cool because I've heard that the drag scene in San Fran is like very different and diverse and accepting. Do you think that's the case? Was that your experience?
Oh
Cool.
yeah, absolutely. I get that question all the time, like people saying like, how do I like become accepted in my community, or like I'm having a lot of trouble with people like seeing me as like a valid performer. And I don't really know how to address those because I never had that experience in San Francisco because the scene there is so like different and so diverse and like subversive for sure. And it had been already for decades, and women had already been doing drag. There was already like a few female drag queens performing at the time that I decided that I wanted to start doing drag. And I definitely did my research. I was like, up in Google, like, can women do drag? Women drag queen? And like a bunch of performers from San Francisco popped up that were still doing shows. Um, so I was like, okay, well, if I was going to start doing it, I guess this is the best place, if any, to start. Um, and yeah, coming out and doing drag there was just like, just being a regular drag queen. They were already so used to it. There was nothing weird about it.
That's really cool. Like that's very
Yeah.
refreshing to hear that, you know.
Yeah. I
Um,
feel like a lot of people really crave like a traumatic story from me. A lot of people want to like the way people phrase questions and constantly ask me like, what's the most horrific thing that has ever happened to you in drag? What's the worst thing that anybody has said to you? What's the most horrifying way somebody has invalidated you? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't have that experience. I'm so grateful for San Francisco drag being like so cool, and having that background of being just like really diverse and weird forever. And it's still weird. It still continues to get weirder and weirder. And never had that experience with anybody being like, hey, you can't do this.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember your first performance? And what was that like?
Yeah, I had actually been going out for maybe a little under a year, just in drag, being a club kid. And I got cornered in the back room of a club by a few drag queens and lectured. This is the traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you want to be a drag queen, you have to perform. You're going to perform. You're going to march out there. And it was Lady Bear's show at the time. I don't know if you know Lady Bear from San Francisco. And they're like, you're going to go ask Lady Bear for a spot in the next show. Go. I was like, okay. And I went and I asked, and I got a slot for the next one. And I did You Don't Own Me, but it was like a Jack Off Jill cover of the Leslie Gore song. And it was like, not great. But after that, I was like, I'm going to do this forever.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I would be horrified. But so in the moment, were you feeling like stage fright, or you were like, wow, this is awesome?
I feel like you always are going to have stage fright. I feel like if you don't have a little bit of it, it's not like exciting for you anymore. It's like the exhilaration of like that anxiety around it, for sure. Um, but yeah, I was like super nervous, and I'm still like nervous a lot of the time. When performing, I feel like that's just like part of the excitement of it.
Okay. And so you said you moved to LA like a little over a year ago. And how is that? Do you like it?
It's been awesome. I moved to LA initially, um, I would say the summer of 2018, and then was here for a while and was getting really exciting opportunities. I think like the first week that I moved here, I like shot another video at Jane St. James, and I was like doing all these like PR parties and like a bunch of like really interesting stuff. And then immediately started doing a lot of like out of town gigs. So I was like barely home for a few months. It was like a situation where I've never been a person that's been able to just do drag for a living. I've always like had to maintain my full-time job, like pay off like student loans and all that stuff. Um, so I was like literally working my like Monday through Friday 9 to 5, traveling on weekends and doing that for like months in a row. And then I moved back to the Bay Area for a little while, for some like family stuff. My sister was like not doing well for a little bit. She's like great now, but I moved back to the Bay Area and I was working from home and kind of like doing the same thing. And it was like kind of nice because I like slowed down a little bit at the time. And I was like, wow, I have time to do laundry. And it's like I was living with my parents, and like they have like a really big house. So I had like a separate drag room / office, and it was really nice. And then I got contacted from Norvina at Anastasia Beverly Hills, and she wanted me to do her makeup for a campaign, actually for a palette that I'm using now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I started traveling like back and forth from LA to do freelance work with her for some projects, like doing makeup on her, and like really missed LA at that point because like all of my friends were still here, most of my friends. And I still have friends in the Bay Area, but I was like outside of San Francisco, so I had to like drive in to see them, and it was like a whole thing. And then I met my boyfriend while I was traveling in LA, and like all of these things just like lined up where I was like, I should like maybe like think about moving back to LA sooner. Like my sister's doing well, like I could probably go back to like my old apartment. And my friend who actually works on Anastasia Beverly Hills was like, why don't you just apply here? And they actually had a job in like my actual like daytime like work job that I do. And I got the job. I told her I applied. I got the job like literally the next week and moved like a week later back to my old apartment with my San Francisco roomies that I moved down with. And then like 3 months later, I moved in with my boyfriend. And now we're in this apartment. It's a
That's
journey.
Yeah.
It's
What
like kind of like opportunities like led to like me coming back. Yeah.
what was the 9 to 5 that you were doing before?
The 9 to 5 that I was doing before was similar. It was like social media for it was more like an indie makeup brand for like old ladies. Um but it was that kind of stuff you can really do from home. And now at Anastasia I deal with more like I do domestic sales managing for um, the US and Canada, and mostly now also creating content for their socials and working with their social media team. So like, I'm lucky I get to do like a regular job and then also escape to a filming room and like shoot a tutorial.
Yeah.
But now I'm working from home doing like the same thing. So
Okay. And I don't remember what video it was, but in some video, I remember you saying that it was right after you moved to LA and you were talking about how you miss your drag family in San Fran. And I was
yeah.
wondering, do you feel like you have a drag family in LA now?
I wouldn't say that necessarily. Like I have a bunch of people that I really love in LA. I've been really good friends with Meatball for a really long time, for a few years. So I definitely consider Meatball to be a close friend. Bitch Pudding, we've like traveled and done gigs together. I love her. There's definitely like a lot of drag queens that I really enjoy here that I'm really good friends with, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them like the tier of my drag family because my drag family I lived with in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So for yeah, all the time that I was there, we like literally had a drag house. We had a house in the outer Sunset. It was just three of us, like just doing drag constantly. Um, so I would say it's definitely a different experience now, like just being here. But I literally called my drag mom the other day. I call one of them cool mom, and the other one is emotional support mom. I called my emotional support mom and I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Help. And like she like lectured me on like, this is what you're doing. This is what you've been doing for years. Like this whole spiel. So I still definitely like run to them for everything.
Mhm.
And my other drag mom owns Wigs by Tips, so she does all of my hair, which is amazing.
Okay, cool. What are their names?
Laundra Time and Scarlet Letters.
Awesome. Okay. And so would you say that I mean, I feel like the answer to this is yes, but would you say that they're probably the thing you miss the most about San Fran?
I would say, yeah, for sure. I also do like miss, I've actually been reminiscing about this a lot lately because we're stuck in quarantine, but I like miss like how easy it was to get to clubs.
Hmm.
Like you can go to Soma and just like bounce around between like 4 or 5 clubs. Just like, oh, I have a performance like at the Stud, or I have a performance at Oasis. Like meet me in Powerhouse in like 20 minutes, and like we'll go down to the Stud again, and then come back to see what's happening at whatever bar, or we'll hop over to the Eagle, like whatever. It was just like super easy, and I remember just like bouncing around in Soma at like 2 a.m. in full clown drag, like. And that's like kind of the stuff that I miss too, is like that experience of like being able to do that. It's not as easy in LA because there's only like Precinct really downtown, and then there's WeHo, which you can kind of like bounce around clubs, but it's not like drag centric the way that it was in San Francisco, where there was like a few shows going on and you can go to a bunch of them. It's more like dance club to dance club to dance club.